The FIBA U18 Women's Asia Cup 2024 is underway as we speak. You may be wondering, why is India not participating? Last month, Eklavya's had done a news break highlighting India's absence from this crucial tournament. For those of you who have already read that report, please continue watching this because there are some new facts and new solutions that are going to be discussed. For those of you who did not read that article, this video is for you. So background. Let's start with the basics. The FIBA Asia Cup is the premier championship both in the men's and women's section at the Asia level. Now, when it comes to the women's section, the structure of the FIBA Asia Cup is divided into two parts. There's Division A and Division B. Division A is the top 8 teams in Asia, Oceania, and Division B is for the next 8 teams. Top teams in Division A usually go on to compete in the World Cup, and the bottommost team in Division A gets relegated to Division B. Likewise, the top team in Division B gets promoted to Division A for the next edition. India has regularly taken part in the U18 Women's Asia Cup without missing a single edition since 1996. That is 13 straight appearances. But in 2024, India is absent even from the Division B section. This is despite the fact that India has competed in Division A in 2022 and finished at the bottom. Now, to the utter shock and surprise of the entire Indian basketball community, it turns out there is supposedly a first come first serve rule in Division B, which means that even if you are a higher ranked team or you have just been relegated from Division A, there is no guarantee that you will automatically end up playing in Division B. India is generally much higher ranked than some of the teams that are playing in Division B this time. And like I mentioned earlier, we were the team that finished bottom at Division A in the previous edition, which means we can expect that we would have played in Division B this time. The only exception is that if you're hosting the tournament, then it doesn't matter what your ranking is or anything, then automatically you get to play, right? The host gets an automatic entry in Division B. For those of you who have been following Indian basketball over the last 7 to 8 years, you will know that India hosted a series of Women's Asian Championships across the U16, U18, and senior divisions in Bangalore from roughly 2017 to 2022. But from 2023 onwards, India has not been hosting FIBA events, which means that we have not been eligible for that automatic host entry. In other words, India is now at the mercy of this first come, first serve rule. This time around, while India submitted the team registration just before the deadline, countries like Kyrgyzstan, Lebanon, Maldives, Syria, Hong Kong, and Iran registered before India. And even the wait list, Jordan and Sri Lanka is ahead of India. So, what's the solution to this issue? Now, no doubt, India should have been quicker in submitting our team's registration, but the larger solution has to be that there must be compulsory South Asian Basketball Association qualifiers in the women's section, just like there is in the men's division. The moment qualifiers are conducted in a particular subzone, in this case, the South Asia zone, then the first come, first serve rule will no longer apply. And instead, the winner of that uh, sub-zonal championship will end up getting qualified to the Asia Cup. This is exactly what has happened in Southeast Asia this time. Even though qualifiers are not mandatory, the Southeast Asia Basketball Association, SEABA, conducted qualifiers based on which Philippines went ahead. So the question is, why can't Sabah also conduct such qualifiers? So as of now, the qualifiers are not mandatory in the women's section. Qualifiers are only mandatory in the men's section. So the only permanent solution, it seems to be, to avoid this sort of lottery situation where you don't know which team is going to qualify, the best and long-term solution is that make qualifiers mandatory for every sub-zone, whether it's sub-zones in Asia like Sabah or Central Asia or wherever, or sub-zones in other zones of FIBA. Unfortunately, it seems there are no concrete plans, whether from FIBA or FIBA Asia, to make qualifiers mandatory in the women's section just like men. So the only other option seems to be that for countries like India, because India is the one that is going to suffer the most from this first come first serve rule, that already been suffering, right? The only solution is that countries like India, we push to make Saba qualifiers in women mandatory, or at least we try to host these events. The long term question though is, why can't India maintain its position among the top 6 to 7 teams in Asia? Because if we do so, then we just avoid such precarious situations in the first place. But for that, we'll probably need to do a separate video.